Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Book Leads Impactful Books for Life and Leadership. I'm your series host and leadership performance coach, John Jaramillo. The Book Leads, the main series in this list that you've come across, this page, this podcast page or YouTube page, the main series is about covering those books that are important to my guests. So it could be a book that they've read that they want to tell me about that I haven't read or covered, a book that we can both cover at the same time, my guest and I, whether we've read it in our previous lives or we're covering it and read it specifically for that series, or one that they've written or published or had a hand in helping. This other series, John's Read On, so clever, uh, is one that's going to be in between those episodes, and it's going to cover different topics. You'll notice that, it stands out from the other topics just based on the graphics, the marketing, the thumbnails. But I guess it's a sub series of that. It's to cover other things that I've seen, whether it's my read on books that I'm reading, my read on articles that I've come across, my read on themes or topics that are out there. And yeah, it's just me riffing on whatever topic it is that kind of hits me. I just figured I'd throw it in there just to kind of get the ideas and the juices flowing in terms of just how everybody thinks about it, considers it. Anything that I write about, anything I discuss, anything I speak to an audience about, anything I talk about here, I want you to consider it's an option. It's never prescriptive, like this is exactly what you should do. If any kind of coach comes in and says, this is what you have to do, this exactly, without learning about you, your business, your leadership, or any of that, your energy, that's not for me. So anything that I always want to carry these conversations and have these conversations, even though it's one-sided right now, because I like just putting things out there, ideas out there, and then just riffing on it with my friends or my colleagues and just thinking about these different topics that come up. Lord knows that so much has come up with the last couple of years. And whether you're in leadership coaching or some other kind of coaching, it helps to talk about all these topics just because I guess it feels like it sharpens your mind, gets you into new perspectives, puts you in other people's shoes. So I think that's really important. So this series ties into the main series because it's all about that sharing of ideas, sharing of opinions, and anything that I share, you're more than welcome to email me or message me on social media about what you think. Anything that I cover here, even though it's a solo podcast, if there's something, an idea that you have on that topic I'm covering, please let me know. And I mean, I'll post something else where I'll say that I got a message from somebody, or maybe I'll even invite people on here who have heard or seen a previous episode and want to come on and talk about it. Um, yeah, more than welcome. Listen, this is no frills. This isn't overly produced. I just want to get to the content, the conversation, and get it out there and have those conversations. So again, it starts off with me covering something, but if somebody has a different opinion or if they want to add to something that I've said, more than welcome, reach out. With every episode that I post, I'll be posting my information, my social media. So I'm easy to get a hold of. In this particular episode, and I realize I'm putting this out there because I never did an introductory episode for this sub-series, John's Read On, but I guess that was it, the introduction that I just gave you. So now you have a general idea of what it is. In any case, this particular episode is about me promoting yet another series that I'm doing with a colleague, my colleague, Prati Kaufman, who is a marketing and energy coach in the Hartford area. I guess it can be anywhere now with the nature of the virtual world. But I met Prati much in the same way that I met a lot of the colleagues that I've met in the last few years. Online, you're just both commenting on a mutual colleague's post, and then you're commenting on each other's, and then you connect. Then you see something they're up to, and then you comment that you have something similar going on, or you have this project going on. Uh, and then you touch base, and then you just have, one-on-one conversations. And she's one of these people that's great to know because she's a marketing and energy coach, but she brings that to what she does with her colleagues, with her network. She just has this amazing energy, not intense, not like what was that guy, Tony Little from like the 80s or 90s, or like Richard Simmons, where it's like overkill. But I've noticed just a lot of people, there's some people that set themselves apart because they have an energy on regarding what they're focusing on, regarding what they're speaking about, what they're talking about with their friends. And she just has an amazing energy like that. So the series that we're doing is called Mindset Talks: Life Beyond the Checkboxes. And first, I'll kind of give you a sense of how it came about. It was just very quickly. Um, I think it just over the course of one conversation, it's like, okay, this is what we should do. But essentially, she posted on LinkedIn that she was a guest lecturer at a college or university up in Massachusetts. And she shared an instance where the students had commented on her saying that they found it, I forget what the word was, but they liked the fact that she was vulnerable about the fear that she had as an entrepreneur. And I find that fascinating because I think I've learned in general in coaching, and I've learned specifically in the last year with the pandemic and the virus and everybody going online for events and forums, how much people don't talk about. And it's actually shifted my leadership coaching to a more specific targeted area of like leadership branding and design, actually putting it out there. Because I was just seeing that too many people have so much information and value that they're not sharing. So to go back to Prati's story, I thought that was fascinating. I don't know if maybe I had a conversation with somebody regarding that topic right around then. And I'm like, okay, there's a theme here that people maybe think that everything on LinkedIn or social media may be perfect. And there's this pressure that people put on themselves to look a particular way. And I think it's important to show them in conversations that it's not necessarily that way. Because I think a lot of the time, most of the negative feelings that we deal with, the pressure, the negativity, the stress, the anxiety, maybe even depression. I mean, not for everybody, not for every in every situation, but I think most times it starts with this pressure that we put on ourselves, thinking that we're the only ones going through certain situations. Where when you hear conversations about certain topics that maybe you've been dealing with or fighting, um, it kind of refreshes you a little, just knowing that other people are going through it, seeing how other people see it in a vulnerable way, in an honest way. So the name of the podcast is Mindset Talk: Life Beyond the Checkboxes, and it just means because we're both coaches, we're not going to come at this from a coaching standpoint. So with coaching, a lot of the time, many times, you start with general questions. You know, it's almost like an intake. And then based on the responses, that's how you refine the questions that you're going to ask going from there. But you can't really do anything without asking these standard questions, taking this standard approach. So life beyond the checkboxes means we're not just going to sit here and look at these topics that we're going to cover. And I'll go over a list of what we've already covered in the ones we've recorded. Nothing's been published yet, and the ones we'll get to. But we're not going to look at these from our coaching perspectives. I'm not going to look at it from a leadership perspective. She's not going to look at it from a marketing and energy perspective, although we may mention how it ties in to our fields. First and foremost, it's going to be an honest conversation. It's not, it happens to be two coaches talking to each other, but the language of coaching is not going to be there. We want it to be like an everyday conversation. But because we are coaches, we're more, I'm going to say that's one of my superpowers, I guess, is that I'm more observant. I pay attention to more details. I notice things that are there. So, and it stems from my history, the way I grew up, how I was as a kid. And I know Prati has her coaching approach, and she has her history. And I mean, we'll get to that in some of these episodes, but we're gonna target different areas. I mean, for instance, the ones that we've already covered, again, not published yet. There's actually a series intro for that one. So that one I remember to do a series intro for, like a full episode on it. But she and I will have already covered taking a pause, stepping back in life and not getting caught up in the rat race, whatever your rat race may look like. The partnerships, raising kids, imposter syndrome. We're going to get to fear, motivation, inspiration, a discussion on energy, work life balance, networking, public speaking, listening, dealing with failure, mental health, our immigrant stories, because I can't I can't get into introducing myself or really digging into who I am without discussing my immigrant story, because that's the foundation of everything I am. So we're going to be talking about all these things, and maybe we'll get to articles of interest, stories of interest, projects of interest. What's great about this is we have a general idea of what we want to do, and here I am saying maybe we'll get to this. it's whatever strikes us. I'm not gonna lie, we have decided which topic we wanted to pick, maybe the day or the night before, maybe 2 days prior, so that we have a good idea of. I know for myself, I wanna know what we're gonna talk about just because I wanna make sure that I hit certain points. So, I mean, I'll riff and discuss like this, but the worst thing that you can do in a podcast is record something and then forget to mention something that you wanted to mention. That came up in an episode with Prati that we just recorded. Where after the fact, I'm like, shit, I forgot to mention this particular thing. But no matter, I mean, it'll come up in another conversation, and that's the fun of this. Is that obviously you're looking at me on screen. None of this is going to be perfect. I'm over that kind of perfection thing. I want to just dive in and just tweak it as we go. But we're having a good time. We're discussing things that I think are important. Hopefully, you think they're important. Prati, hopefully, she wants you to feel they're important as well. I just didn't want to speak for her, but yeah, we want you to feel important. But even if nobody paid attention to these, I think these are important conversations that she and I would have, just because there's certain things that even coaches have to get off their mind and off their chest. I've had the conversation before where if I was in a bad place or a sad place or a rejected place, whatever it may be, or just not feeling 100% or 90%, 80%, 70%, people would ask, well, you're a coach, can't you figure it out on your own? And no, even coaches need coaches. Even coaches need guidance. Even coaches need just a place to go to kind of unleash or vent or talk or discuss. Just because you're a coach doesn't mean you have it together 100% of the time. I think any coach that says they do is lying. I think that's unfortunate if that is the case. I think what makes coaches great coaches is the fact that we are curious. We want to learn, whether it's about ourselves, whether it's about our clients, whether it's about our audience. And that's another thing for the intro part of this subseries, John's Read On. If there's anything that I cover and you have an opinion on it, you can obviously email me, shoot me an email, shoot me a message on social media. You can come on here if you want and say, John, this is something you talked about, whether it was a book, an article, a topic in the community. I'd like to add a voice to that. I'm more than open to doing that. I think conversations are great. This is just one-sided right here where I feel like I'm lecturing. I hope it doesn't sound that way, but in any case, what drives me to do this, to be able to do it in front of a camera, that's another thing. People said, oh, you're so confident. I don't think it's confidence. I just think that this is something that I want to see. This is something that I want to do. It's something I'm passionate about. I'm in a state of flow right now. When I stop talking, I'll probably collapse on the floor. So send help. I don't think that'll help because I think I'm going to post this in a few days. In any case, so we're not going to out anybody in Prati and my podcast. We're not going to out clients. We're not going to speak specifics. Again, it's more our mindset as coaches, how we look at these different topics. And again, for that series as well, if anybody feels like they want to come in to discuss a topic, if there's something we talked about that somebody can offer a perspective on, we welcome that as well. If they want to come in to discuss with us a topic that we haven't covered or even mentioned that we're going to get to, welcome that as well. All right. So that's it. I just wanted to cover, I guess, give a brief intro to what John's Read On is going to be all about. And then at the same time, promote this additional podcast, video, and audio series that we're going to have coming up: Mindset Talks, Life Beyond the Checkboxes. As I always say, if you have any comments, if you want to add anything, please reach out. Don't hesitate. Contact information is there. I appreciate a great conversation. I appreciate feedback. Let's keep developing. Let's keep growing together. It doesn't have to be in silos. There's so much that we can learn from each other. And I think it plays back to me just always wanting to go back to school, where I realized there's so much that we can learn from each other. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Subscribe where you're listening. Subscribe where you're watching. And reach out if you need anything at all. All right. Take care. Bye.